Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Archie's Briefings. I'm your host, Arshel Branch, and today, you guys, we are going to talk about how the Department of Education is going to resume taking the people's money to pay off their student loan debt, garnishing the wages of those with the student loan debt. That is coming back in May. And oh my goodness, first thing, you guys, I'm just happy to not be one of these people. I do feel bad for them. But anyhow, that's what we are going to talk about today. So if you're new to the channel, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you never miss an episode. Like this video, share this video. First of all, I do love when people get into the comment sections. I just want to keep growing and growing this channel. So without further ado, you guys, let's go ahead and let's talk about the student loan debt and how they are going to have to start paying that back come May. So let's go ahead and let's do that, shall we?
There is something that has been on my heart that I did want to discuss. Discipline is a huge part of being productive, being lucrative. I'm not for anything that goes against true productivity, true sovereignty of the individual. The choices that we make are what's going to be up for judgment.
All right, guys. So as you know, I've been working to get my ducks in a row so that way I could be more of use to you, engage a little bit more than just the podcast here on the YouTube channel and the Rumble channel. So what I would like for you guys to do is to click the link in the description box to my website, archiesfinancialbriefings.com, where you guys will get exclusive content of my op-eds along with the audio podcast created by me with my characters, Theo and Majel. Completely exclusive original content. And I hope you guys enjoy that. Just click the link again to the website, archiesfinancialbriefings.com. I know it's a mouthful. Got to keep everything consistent. But again, just click the link, head over there, subscribe today. All right, you guys, let's go ahead and let's talk about the Department of Education, shall we? Okay, guys, so as I said in the open, today we are going to talk about the Department of Education resuming taking people's wages so they can pay off their student loan debt. This was something that had stopped. Well, the garnishing and the leniency, it wasn't forgiveness, obviously. It wasn't student loan forgiveness, but they did halt the garnishing of people's wages, looking for payments. They did that during COVID, obviously 2020, and they have not resumed those for years. It's been years. And now officially the Department of Education under this administration, the Trump administration, is going to start garnishing people's wages to pay off the student loans come this May, which is not that long from now. May 5th, I believe, is the exact date. And of course, those with all the debt are absolutely losing their minds. They are freaking out about this, you guys. And so for starters, you guys, I want to start with the news clip about I guess you could just call it a news announcement about the fact that this is actually happening. And we are going to get into some reactions about this from everyday people with the debt itself. But I do want to talk about the news clip first, so that way we can have a full grasp of what is happening. So let's go ahead and let's run that clip first, shall we? All right, you guys. So this is the news clip here. It says at the top, student loan defaults to face debt collection starting May. Let's go ahead and let's run it.
The U.S. Education Department has announced that federal student loans in default will be sent to debt collection starting May 5th. Roughly 5.3 million borrowers are currently in default. The department will resume wage garnishment and treasury offsets, including tax refunds and federal benefits, after a 30-day notice. This marks the end of leniency that began in March 2020 during the COVID-19 pandemic. Education Secretary Linda McMahon said taxpayers should not bear the burden of irresponsible loan policies. Borrowers can avoid garnishment by entering a loan rehabilitation program, which requires 9 on-time payments. The announcement follows legal setbacks for Biden-era relief efforts and ongoing confusion over repayment options. Advocates warn this move could worsen financial instability for millions already struggling. Less than 40% of all federal student loan borrowers are currently up to date on payments.
And like you guys saw in that clip, right? You know, Linda McMahon is making it very clear that it's not fair to the taxpayers that these millions of people who have all of the student loan debt are going to have to work to pay this back, and that she is trying to find a way to make it more efficient, to make it easier, so that way it is easier for people to actually make these payments. But now, how many times have Americans had the opportunity to work the debt snowball or maybe work the debt avalanche? I'm more of a snowball, not an avalanche. We'll get into details about what those subjects are later. But ultimately, there are processes that one could use to help get them out of debt because it matters to them. Debt is something that enslaves you financially, prevents you from having the future that you actually want. And they're telling you, hey, go to college, take out hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands of dollars to get the degree. And then when you get the degree, you get the job. It doesn't even pay what needs to be to cover these numbers. Like, it just doesn't do that. And Linda McMahon She's going to make sure that, it's coming out of your tax refund. So I guess no vacations to Mexico. That's not happening today. The money that you were going to use to, spend on whatever lifestyle you wanted. No, if you are not going to prioritize doing the responsible, honorable, morally correct thing, like paying off your debt, well, then the government is going to force you to do this. Now, personally, I support any form of policy or legislation that prevents Americans from going any further into debt and that contributes or encourages them to actually pay these numbers down. I'm for this type of policy. I'm for these ideas. Yeah, no, you've been going how many years since 2020 thinking that this was something that you weren't going to have to pay back. And that's just not how this goes. You take out a debt, you pay it back. Every generation has done this. You are nothing new. This is nothing. It's just mind-boggling to me, you guys, that people think that they can borrow money and not pay it back. What? Like, what world are you living in? You think that unlike every other generation that has borrowed money, that you think you are not going to have to pay this back. It's backwards, yo. Like, why do you think that? And then there are just some people who were dumb enough to go out onto the internet. They went out there on TikTok, on YouTube, and they were bragging, saying why they were not going to pay this money back. And apparently, I'm not the only one who thinks this is absolutely ridiculous. I think these people are kind of foolish for thinking that they can go into the internet and the government wasn't going to discover that you were trying not to pay your money back, trying not to pay this money back. So let's go ahead and let's pull up a clip that I found on YouTube, you guys, of a gentleman pretty much calling it an old guy rant, talking about how foolish these people are, because I'm not the only one. There are others. So let's go ahead and let's run that next, shall we? All right, guys, so this is the clip I wanted to show you. It says Grumpy Old Gay Rant, Student Loan Edition. I found this video on YouTube. I thought it was absolutely hilarious. I always assume this guy is a liberal. I've never really watched his content before, but this one I thought was absolutely hilarious, and it works for today's episode. So let's go ahead and let's run it, shall we?
Grumpy Old Gay Rant of the day. Some of the people on this app do not have the God-given sense that the good Lord gave to a turnip. Let's talk about student loans for a second. This app has been filled with different types of people with different student loans. I am one of them. I was fortunate in the fact that I enrolled in the public service loan forgiveness and paid on mine for 10 freaking years and then had the rest forgiven. And before you come for me in the comments, you have no idea what I had to do to get those loans forgiven. I had to teach for 10 years in the schools that nobody wanted to teach in. I had to teach the subjects that nobody wanted to teach to the kids that nobody wanted to teach for over 10 years. And I kind of had fun doing it. But there were people on this app for the past 2 years bragging, saying, I will never make my student loan payments. They were all over this app saying, I have no intention of ever paying my student loans, bragging about it. And then last night and this morning, my feed is full of people saying, I can't believe the government's going to garnish my wages. I have asked this question many times in the past, but does it hurt to be that stupid? You're like the person who stole a car and then bragged about it to everybody else, and then you're surprised that the police showed up to your house. If you had no intention of paying back the student loan, you could have just shut the fuck up about it. But for some reason, you thought it was okay to brag about it on social media. You know who else is on social media? The government. And they saw your little TikToks and they said, oh, hell no, not on my watch, bitch. And now they're going to garnish your wages.
I'm going to leave it there because, you guys, that was hilarious. But it's like, hello, did you think that it was never going to come back to bite you in the behind? I mean, why did you think that you can get out on YouTube or TikTok or any one of these platforms and sit here and say, I am not going to be a responsible, mature, honorable adult and pay back my debts? Why did you think that you were going to get away with that? I don't understand. And with this administration, we're talking accountability, personal responsibility. You are not going to be allowed to, mooch off of the taxpayer. We do that with those on Social Security who don't need Social Security, those who file for disability and there's nothing wrong with them, those who want to use the food stamps, all the rest of it, when they are more than able to go out there and get work and take care of themselves and take care of their families. You are more than able. You're an able-bodied person. You can go out here and do for self. Okay, you're not going to be allowed to mooch over off the taxpayers anymore. So when it comes to your student loans, yeah, that's going to be taken care of. And again, you guys, you look at the national debt, okay, it's 36 trillion, okay? When you look at the consumer debt among this country, it's over $1 trillion. And student loans is a huge part of that. And we just, again, have a culture of people have no interest in paying off their student loans. They had no interest in paying off any debts. In fact, they look at debt like it's just a good thing, that they are going to leverage debt to live the lives that they want because they are under the impression that this is a good idea. For starters, there is no such thing as good debt. I've been saying this for the longest time. You cannot be a student of Dave Ramsey and Financial Peace University. You cannot go through Proverbs, okay? You cannot go through the Bible. Look at 2,500 scriptures, okay, that say why there's a way to do your money that has absolutely nothing to do with debt. That video was absolutely hilarious, and he's so right. Okay, do you not realize that the government could see you? I mean, and I bet you don't like it. These are the very people who say they've been advocating for keeping the government, right? Like conservatives are saying that we actually want to do something about protecting our privacy rights. We want to do something about shrinking government down, getting rid of the Department of Education. I bet you feel the same way now. Do you really want the Department of Education to stick around now? Do you really like the idea that these colleges and these universities have been allowed to jack up the prices? Okay. Since the creation of the Department of Education, student loans have gotten a lot more abused. More students have been allowed to go further and further into debt. And I fully support this, for starters, you guys. I fully support this. As I said earlier, I'm for there being some kind of a negative consequence to individuals who think that this is okay. You want to engage with the thing that financially enslaves you, there are going to be consequences to that. You're going to have to pay that money back. Okay. And the larger the number, the much harder it's going to be to get yourself out of this. Okay. First rule of holes: when you are in one, stop digging. Put down the shovel, okay? And I'm for policies that are going to force you to put it down if you are not responsible enough to do it yourself. Now, you guys, like I said, there have been some freakouts over this, and I think it's absolutely ridiculous because, of course, you want to be able to take control of your lives and to make sure that when you get your tax returns, the money is yours, that not only do you keep your money in your paycheck, but you get to decide what to do with it, okay? And that the money's not coming out of your paychecks to go towards your damn student loans. You actually want to have control over your money and be able to, flip off the government like, well, you can't just be taking my money like this outside of the taxes. You want the opportunity to just keep as much of your money as you possibly can. And who doesn't? You want to be able to boast about how much money you're making when you are making good decisions about your careers, right?
Bitch, I got money, bitch. I got money, bitch.
Okay, you guys, so as I said, there are some reactions to this, or people are kind of freaking out, and I do think it's funny. I feel bad, but I'm also laughing at them. It's like, you watch the horror movie, the girl drops the keys, and you're laughing at her just before Freddy gets her, just before Michael Myers gets her. It's like, you're stupid, you're an idiot. How did you drop the keys? Why would you throw the keys? And so that's how I feel, right? You feel bad they're about to get got, okay? You do feel bad, but I'm also laughing like you're the girl who dropped the keys in the horror movie. So let's go ahead and let's run these reactions, you guys, because they are priceless. Sad, but hilarious. Let's go ahead and let's run that next, shall we? All right, you guys. So this is the clip I wanted to show you of the liberal freakouts. And I don't know so much they're liberal. They could be conservative. I mean, I doubt it, but they could be. But these are just the freakouts here. I'm going to run it because it's hilarious. Go ahead, shall we?
Resuming involuntary collections on student loans.
Definitely.
All that time that the loans were frozen, that was the time where the hackers needed to get into the system and erase all of the student loans, genuinely. Because how are they going to be dismantling the Department of Education, but they want everyone to pay back their student loans? But you're dismantling the whole system that the student loans are in.
Okay, before I let it go on, let me just, first of all, I think if you're watching this channel, you understand. First of all, even if they do get rid of the Department of Education, which that is obviously a goal of the MAGA administration, that is obviously a goal of America First. However, it does not mean that even if it did go away or when it goes away, that you are not responsible for paying back your student loans. It's just going to be a responsibility that gets sent over to a whole other department in the federal government. So you're kind of ridiculous. And that whole, he wanted people to hack into the government. So you are encouraging crimes, okay? Because you would rather have someone hack our federal government before you take any responsibility over your bad choices. Oh my goodness, let it rock.
We're not going to get rid of those student loans. You're still going to have to pay them. Of course, they're going to make everyone pay their student loans, even if they actually got rid of the Department of Education fully. Of course, they're still going to want that money. It's just actually fucking diabolical.
So they're saying they're going to start garnishing wages. For student loans. Was adulthood this scary for our parents?
Debt, unfortunately, is a priority. It has to be paid back. You did it to yourself, not, obviously with some encouragement, but ultimately you're the one who has to make the final say. So you did it to yourself. I mean, was adulthood this scary for our parents? I'm assuming so. Everybody got to go through it. Okay, it was scary for me, scary for everybody else. Grow a pair, put on your lady pants. Okay, act like an adult, pay back your dang loans. Let it keep going.
Or is this like a unbelievably scary time? Or like adulthood been this?
Now, I know we stand as tall and strong on not doing a goddamn thing, but in a minute, we finna have to lean forward. They talking about garnishing what for who? Come May 5th, they talking about garnishing checks for fucking student loans. Mecca, do you see what you have done?
Yeah.
Now, it's over 5 million people already in debt for student loans. We were protected during Biden run. They're lifting that protection and making us pay. So, I mean, we can switch that direct deposit to checks and just, because they don't have to come get it in blood. Pick back up the winter boots. I know it's springtime, but it is what it is. Taking out y'all poor decisions that y'all made going into this 2025 project on us, and now just trying to make us go down with you? Because the tariffs off the bat was the horrible move. The Pope didn't pass from seeing JD, but y'all paying Katie $60 million to go motherfucking lie about being in space. Y'all love a good distraction before the bullshit.
They can't garnish this cash. They're going to have to come get it back in blood. They done got us.
Yep.
They done got us.
This time, oh my gosh, yo.
Y'all woke me up. Everything else was a joke, but this here, you got me this time.
I know.
All right, I think that's enough. Student loans is going to F us over. I mean, why? This is what's got me so flabbergasted. When you heard the cost of your education, explain to me why you weren't shocked or upset at the price before you took on the debt. Someone comes to you and says, yeah, your degree is going to cost you $250,000. It's going to cost you $150,000. And that didn't piss you off? That you didn't think, all right, let me figure out a whole other way. Let me do this differently. No, you said to yourself, oh, well, I'm just going to get financial aid. I'm just going to get student loans, and I'm going to let somebody else pay for me to get this degree. And then I'm just not going to pay it back because Biden said it was okay. Biden just decided that in 2020 that we were going to have this leniency. We were not going to take money out of people's pockets anymore because, it's COVID. People need every dollar they can get. Inflation was through the roof because of Joe Biden. So while you're not paying back your debts, you're just going to pay extra money elsewhere. So life is already harder. And we're going to say that previous woman I just told you guys, where she's talking about the tariffs. I don't think tariffs are your problem, darling. I really don't. I think the problem is when you saw what college degree you were going to get, you didn't think that the price was too much. They done got us. They just woke me up. You're welcome. Personal responsibility. That's what this administration is about. That's what America First is about. Okay, you need to start making better choices. And why is it that when you look at the prices of your degrees that you didn't take pause to that? Okay, kind of outrageous, a bit ridiculous. Okay. Like, yes, student loans is going to F us over. Exactly. It is going to F you over. And I don't understand why you didn't know this. Now, you guys, I recommend for those of you who do have all this debt, Ramsey Solutions, debt snowball, work it out. Okay. This is something that is important. Increase your income, budget your money, cut the spending, the wasteful spending, sell off assets. If you have something of value, sell it. Okay. Budget your money, figure out a way where you can pay down your debt. That's going to be important. Prices getting too expensive. The tariffs are problematic. I mean, I thought it was hilarious that Katy Perry statement that she made, but this is kind of the point here. Okay. The fact that Americans are not turned off by expensive prices and that they are still willing to engage in debt, period, to get the thing that they want in the moment. If they're not thinking about their futures, this is the culture of finances that needs to stop. You need to stop. And then you're mad when someone says, yeah, no, this is not going to be allowed anymore. And you think it's our fault. So you're mad that we want you to pay back your debt. So that way other people don't have to pay. You're mad that we don't want you mooching off of us anymore. Are you kidding me? Pick up the debt. You took it on. You could have said, no, I'm not doing this easily. But it's everybody else's fault but yours. ridiculous. I'm going to come out of this. That was hilarious, but I'm going to come out of this. It's just absolutely ridiculous to me, you guys. That people are just, I get why you're losing your minds. It was funny. Like I said, it was funny. It's absolutely tragic what's happening. However, over 5 million Americans are, in this situation. And I do think that there are ways in which you can get out of this, but you did it to yourself, and there were people that were sitting there encouraging you to take out this debt. And I'm not one of those people, right? I will never sit here and say to you that you should go out there and get the debt to get anything. I do not believe that there is anything as good debt. I do not believe in it. I will say justifiable. There is bad debt and there's justifiable debt. There is no such thing as good debt. Anybody who tells you that is misinformed and misinforming you. There is no such thing. If it were such a good thing, you'd stay in it, but it's not. You work to get out of it. And again, when you look at the older generations who did utilize debt for their college, for their cars, for their homes, they paid it off. Okay. They paid it off. That was what you saw with the boomers. Okay. They paid it off. Now, I'm not saying that the numbers are the same. Okay. They're not. Numbers were quite different when boomers were going to college. Okay. Quite different. But today, colleges and universities have been allowed to exacerbate their prices, and they're unbelievably high. And we're just going out here, taking out all this debt, taking out all this money, not thinking about our futures, because it's so important to have the degree, because our society says you are not legitimate if you don't have this damn degree. Excuse my language, but that's how it is. Okay. And now you have to pay that back, and you don't like it. You don't like that the bill has come due. Okay. Come May 5th, that bill comes in. You're going to have to pay that back. There are methods, there are processes, okay, that you can work to get yourself out of this. But if you were so irresponsible and paying it off yourself, now we have to force you to do this. We're going to go into your paychecks and we're going to take it back. Okay. We're going to do that. You have to pay off your debts. This is not a shocker. This is not a new phenomenon where you borrow money, you pay it back. It isn't simple. If you don't, you should lose privileges. That's a whole other story. I'm going to write an op-ed about it on the website, archiesfinancialbriefings.com. I'm going to write about that. I am going to talk about this in other episodes as well, because this is kind of ridiculous that people are losing their minds over something that they are responsible for putting themselves in the first place. They are making this look like it's a boogeyman, like there's something evil around the corner, and it's just ridiculous, you guys. It's ridiculous. And so, you guys, just to sum this whole thing up, I've been talking for a while now. I just want to say, absolutely love the fact that Linda McMahon, Secretary of Education, as well as this administration, are putting personal responsibility in this agenda, right? It's you have to do what is best for you. You have to do the responsible thing. And if you are not willing to do it yourself, then we're going to have to make you do that. That's just something that has to happen here. You have to pay back your student loans. Linda McMahon, okay, the Secretary of Education, she is willing to work with you. She wants to use AI to figure out how these numbers are going to work with you. Take up extra jobs, bring in extra income, sell off assets, okay? Budget your money, make it work, okay? Because this is important. We were not taught how to be better with our money, and it's unfortunate, but this is what it looks like. These are what the consequences look like when you're convinced to choose in financial enslavement. That's what happens. So again, you guys get in the comments. Let me know what you think about this. I am so scared for these 5 million Americans, but have no fear. There are ways in which one can get out of it. And I'm looking forward to that. Again, you guys, you can head over to the website, archiesfinancialbriefings.com, where you can subscribe today, and you have all exclusive content between my op-eds and the audio podcast with my characters, Theo and Majel. Subscribe today for $5, and you get all that new content along with 2 new episodes of the audio podcast and 2 new op-eds every single week, every Friday. So if you guys subscribe today, that's what you get. And I'm looking forward to growing growing the content, growing the website. Hope you subscribe. And again, I love you guys. I'll talk to you later. Get in the comments, share, like, all of it. It's going to be amazing. So grateful to you and to the Lord. So God bless, love you, and Kepla.